First April Fool's joke of a divorce. I first met David at the student bar in college. I had seen him before and thought he was the strong and silent type. When he was in a group of other students, he never dominated the conversation. His participation was usually limited to answering questions. He paid attention to people and seemed polite and caring, a good listener. When he sat alone, he appeared deeply thoughtful, always serious and usually sad. He would change his facial expression and attitude if anyone joined him. He was an enigma that I wanted to solve. One day, when the tables were full, I asked permission to join him. He said it would be an honor and pretended it was true. His joy seemed to emerge when I spoke to him. He smiled, and I managed to get him to laugh at some of my self-deprecating jokes. We stayed in a state of constant conversation until he said he had to go to class. I told him that I enjoyed talking to him. "I did too," he replied. Damn, he was so nice. 2 days later, he was in the same spot, and I asked him if he was saving a spot for me next to him. Yes, I was guarding him at the cost of my life. We talked again, and he laughed easier than the first time. I loved seeing him smile. I knew I was falling in love with him. Fast. After a few more encounters, I wondered if he was ever going to ask me out. I took the initiative. "Dave, I just asked a friend to get me some tickets to a Phil Collins concert. He and his friend have an emergency and they gave me the tickets. Would you like to go?" "Don't you have a boyfriend who could drive you?" I felt like he was trying to find an excuse not to go with me. "Hey, if you don't want to go..." "No, I'm sorry. I'm just surprised a nice girl like you doesn't have a boyfriend. I wasn't insulting you." I moved closer to him. "I'm nice, aren't I? Tell me, how good am I?" He smiled. "You're beautiful, smart, and very witty. That's my favorite trait about you." Heck, I was hoping for attractive. He blushed. He really did blush. "Nancy, you're taking me out of my comfort zone. Yes, I do find you attractive, but I don't want our relationship to be based solely on looks. I'd like to get to know you better, but no is not in the biblical sense. Right now, I'd love to go to a concert with you." We went to a concert. I had a great time, and he seemed to enjoy it. We walked back to my dorm. He hugged me. No kiss, not even on the cheek. My estimation of my attractiveness took a hit. After a few weeks of constant seeing each other, I was worried again. "Dave, don't you like me?" "Of course I like you very much." "Then why don't you ask me out?" "I'd like to, but are we going down a path that could end up with us getting married? There's no reason to go down that path if we have no chance of getting married. I need 2 things before I seriously start dating a girl. I need to meet her parents, who need to approve of me dating her, and she needs to know that I don't want to have kids. Think about what I just said. If you agree, set up a day and time to meet with your parents. Please understand that even if you agree to these 2 things and we date, it doesn't necessarily mean we will get married. It's just that I won't go on a trip until you do." I was stunned. Most of the guys I'd had didn't want to date my parents. I think the look in their eyes that said, "I just want to get in her panties," was too obvious if my parents looked at them face to face. The no kids statement wasn't that unusual and could probably be revisited later. I didn't really feel that strongly one way or the other. Dave knocked my idea of men out of whack. I called my parents, who were immediately puzzled as to how serious our relationship was if he wanted to meet them. My father asked me if I was pregnant. My mother was ready to plan a wedding. I told them to behave themselves and not spoil it all. One evening, we met up with my parents. Dave started the conversation after some small talk and then got to the point. "Mr. and Mrs. Jackson, I appreciate your willingness to meet with me before Nancy and I start dating. I asked for this because I don't date casually. I view dating as a step toward marriage if and only if things go well. Will things go well for Nancy and me? I have no idea yet. All I know is that I'd like to find out." My other problem is that I don't plan on having children with my wife. I hope you realize that my reasons for this are too personal for me to reveal. I know how some parents look forward to having grandchildren. If this is unacceptable to you, I will respect your decision and not date Nancy. Having heard what I had to say, I ask your permission to date your daughter. A long pause ensued before my father finally spoke. Although Nancy is an adult and doesn't need our permission, I appreciate you talking to us first. I see no problem in giving our consent for the two of you to date. I can't speak for my wife. Dave, I want Nancy to choose who she dates based solely on her own feelings. Of course I want grandchildren, but having a happy daughter is more important. You have my blessing for today. Dave and I thanked them and left. I gave him a big hug before we stepped off the porch. He was smiling. I really liked his smile. Our dating life started from that night. Dave said the right things and did the right things on our dates. We became more intimate in our kissing and touching each other, but we never made love. I did a lot of self-pleasuring as soon as I got back to my room after dates. We dated exclusively for a year, and I thought we had reached a plateau, a good plateau. But I wondered if we were stuck, or if we were going anywhere from here. Dave, I love you. If you love me, tell me where you think we are headed as a couple. Nancy, I love you very much. I think it's time we talked about marriage. I hope it doesn't scare you as much as it scares me. Scare me? Dave, sometimes you seem completely ignorant. If you ask me a question, I say yes. Well, then I'm asking. Nancy Jackson, will you marry me? Wait a minute. Let me think about it. Okay, yes! We got married after graduation in a simple wedding to save money. A few months later, we both had good jobs. Dave turned out to be great in bed and seemed to like a lot of foreplay before making love. He didn't turn out to be timid like the virgin I thought he was. He never said anything about the women he dated and or made love to. Dave was great around the house and willingly shared household chores. He often asked if he was doing enough to help. I always received compliments on my cooking, cleaning, laundry, and especially my ability to satisfy him in bed. My female co-workers were very jealous. Our home life was full of energy, and energy centered on companionship, caring, love, and laughter. To save money, we rarely ate out and stayed in to play board or card games instead of going to the movies or concerts. An old movie on DVD and popcorn were common Friday night activities along with cuddling. The only thing that surprised me about Dave was that he turned out to be the consummate tease and joker. That was supposed to be my forte, so I wasn't about to relent. It was as if April Fool's Day came to our house at least once a month. I still smile just thinking about those days and some of the pranks we pulled on each other. Almost a year after we were married, a major incident happened. At the time, I was afraid I might lose my husband over it. Despite being on the pill regularly, I became pregnant. 3 home pregnancy tests and 2 tests at the doctor's office were positive. I was afraid to tell him. I didn't want to lose him. I held back until he noticed the morning sickness and asked what was wrong. The dam broke and I blurted out, "I'm pregnant. I'm so sorry." I shed some serious tears. Dave didn't change his stoic expression. After a pause, he said, "Let's talk about it after you calm down." It took me a few minutes to calm down before he asked, "What do you really want?" "Dave, I want to have a baby, but if you want me to, I'll keep the promise I made to you to live a child-free life. I'll agree to give the baby up for adoption, but I won't have an abortion. You can decide for us whether to keep the baby or give it up for adoption. I hope we keep it." Nancy, I don't believe in killing babies either. I was very touched when you said you wanted to keep him. That tells me a lot about your love and our marriage. I truly believe in supporting you as much as you support me. I will have to give up my previous position for you. For me to be happy in our marriage, you have to be happy. I agree to let you keep the baby. I promise to be the best father I can be. You will never hear a word of regret from me. I ran up and threw myself into his arms with tears of joy. Krista was born, and she was beautiful. Dave had kept his word, and I couldn't have wished for a better father for a child. She was only 6 months old when he surprised me again. I don't think it's good for a baby to be the only one. How about giving her a brother or sister in a year or so? You can stay home and be a mom for a while. I'll have a vasectomy after our second child is born. I was stunned. All I could squeeze out was a weak, okay. Melody was born almost exactly 2 years after Krista. I quit my job for a few years and then went back to my old job. I never once detected a problem with Dave's attitude towards his parents. That's not to say I didn't suspect he had some issues. I just wasn't sure what the problem was or what to do about it. As he had earlier in college, Dave would sometimes sit alone in his chair and seem to sink into his thoughts. Sometimes it frustrated him to the point of tears. As wonderful as he was in every way that you would want a husband to be, I got the impression that he was hiding something from me, our marriage and our family. It seemed like he wasn't fully prepared to be my husband and the girl's father. Since I had more good stories about my husband in my married life than most of my girlfriends had about their lives, I blessed my lucky stars for what I had. Today, with an older girl in college and a second one getting ready to enter college, I reviewed life in the empty nest. I remembered how exciting dating was before marriage, and what love was like with Dave for the first time in marriage. For the first year, we hardly ever left the bedroom on weekends. 2 kids working and paying bills year after year seemed to drain the thrill of marriage like a balloon losing helium. I really missed the good old days when we were first married, and it was just the 2 of us. We had a lot of fun. I was struggling to find a new purpose in my life. There was a hole in my life that was being filled by my kids. How could I fill that hole now? Having an affair was an option I sometimes considered because of the offers I was getting from some very handsome men. Men still hit on me, even at my age. Some felt that my marriage enhanced my qualities rather than hindered them. There were a couple of times when the right man and the right circumstances seemed to assure me that my husband was unlikely to find out if I lost my way, but I never did anything more than flirt. We often teased each other about having an office wife and an office husband. I spent a lot of time watching Dave, which I don't think he was aware of. There were times like before when I would see Dave staring off into space with a sad expression on his face. I'd ask if something was bothering him and he'd say, "Nothing." I knew it was for a reason. I suspected there was some tragedy in his past that he was uncomfortable sharing. What could I do? Then one day it hit me. Laughter was what I missed most compared to before. Dave would do anything to make me laugh, and vice versa. I had one of those snorting laughs. When I took a breath while laughing, I sounded like a snort. This, in turn, caused more laughter and so on, until we both cried with laughter. For several years, until the kids were all grown up, we played pranks on each other for laughs and fun. This practice seemed to have died down. We may have thought we should set a more mature example for our children. Now I thought it was time to start the pranks again, especially since it would soon be April. Our marriage could be revitalized. I spent the weeks leading up to April 1st working on organizing my prank. I talked about the new man in the office and how all the women were crazy about him. I bragged about how Evan danced when we had an office party that Dave couldn't make it to. I started working overtime at work and having a bachelorette party once a week. When I got home, I would shower before I went to bed. I began to gradually cut Dave off from lovemaking under various pretexts. I nagged him about doing his chores around the house. I complained that I had to redo many of his chores around the house because he wasn't doing it right. I overcooked, undercooked, or otherwise ruined many of our dinners. Despite his irritated expression, he didn't complain about anything, but he looked ready to explode. When the 1st of April came, I was anxious but prepared. It was about 6 o'clock in the evening when the doorbell rang. "Dave, open up. Anyway, it's probably for you." "Isn't it, Nancy? I guess it doesn't matter that you're only 10 feet from the door." "I'm tired. It wouldn't kill you to do something nice for me for a change." Dave reluctantly headed for the door. I knew what awaited him there. A woman our age stood there with a bag in her hands, her head down. She looked nothing like what I thought a server should look like. Dave greeted her. "Yes, can I help you?" "Are you David Livingston?" She looked at her feet. "Dave." "Yes." "Could you show me some identification, please?" He pulled out his wallet and showed his driver's license. The good part was about to come. I almost giggled in anticipation. "Did you go to Anderson County High School?" I wondered why she asked that. It wasn't part of the script. "Yeah, why do you ask? Did you go out with a girl named Allison Kirk? What's going on?" I got up and headed for the door. Dave got really upset, but finally answered, "Yes, we were dating, but then she left. I'm afraid to say, but she died years ago." The girl raised her head and looked him in the eyes. "I'm alive, Dave. I'm here, and more alive than ever." David looked at her again. His eyes got big. I thought he was going to faint. "Allie? Allie? Oh my God, is that really you?" Now her face was full of tears. "Yeah. But, your parents told me you were dead. They said you killed yourself because of me. It was a lie to keep you from trying to find me." David reached out and pulled her to him. They embraced and kissed. It seemed like they would never stop. "I thought I would never see you again in this life. Please come in before I have a heart attack." They went and sat next to each other on the couch. I walked over to my deep armchair. They were holding hands and giggling like two giddy teenagers. I was completely ignored, and it made me angry. I intervened. "Excuse me, you two. Dave, can you tell me what the hell is going on here? Who is this woman, and why are you groping her on all sides?" "Nancy, this is Allison Kirk, my first and only true love. I never told you about her because it brought back too many sad memories. I thought she was dead. Her being here is a miracle to me." "Your one true love? I beg your pardon. Who am I then?" Allison and I were head over heels in love in high school. We were sure we'd get married and start a family after graduation. Her parents were very conservative and were against me as a potential son-in-law. We weren't even allowed to date. Allison would sneak out of the house late at night. When everything was forbidden, making love didn't seem so forbidden. We were getting married soon. We made love whenever we could. One day I ran out of contraceptives, so we took a chance. Allison got pregnant. We planned to elope and get married, but Allison was too young to sign for herself. We needed at least one of her parents to sign the contract. We hoped that her pregnancy and my desire to marry her would convince them to sign the contract. But shortly after Allison told her parents, they took her and left. To this day, I never heard from her. Her parents called out of the blue a few months after they left and told me that Allison had killed herself over a child out of wedlock. The baby had died when she did. Dave then turned to Allison in tears. "Allison, what happened to our baby? Did you have an abortion?" "No, I didn't want to, and my parents wouldn't have let me anyway. They made up a story and told everyone that my husband was in the army and was killed. Actually, our son is in his last year of college now. He has my intelligence and your athletic body. I hope you get to meet him soon. When I told him about you after my parents' funeral, he said he wanted to meet you as soon as possible." "What's his name?" "I wanted to name him after you at birth, but my parents wouldn't allow it. Until recently, his name was Justin. I officially changed his name to David Austin Livingston, Jr. with his full approval." Dave was now sobbing like a baby. "Of course I want to meet him. Somebody pinch me. I can't believe this is happening." I spoke up. "I can't either. David, this has gone far enough. Please ask this man to leave our home immediately. You and I have some important matters to discuss. In private." There was a look of angry determination on Dave's face like I'd never seen before. "No, I lost Allison once and I'm not going to lose her again." I sat there in shock. Dave continued his questions. Allison, what happened to you when you were taken away? My parents gave me an ultimatum. Leave with them, or they would never support me again. Dave, I was a pregnant teenager with no financial support other than my parents. You had no money to feed yourself, let alone a family. It pained me to part with you, but I didn't have much choice. I went with them and kept my promise to never contact you. I had to agree to this so they wouldn't put our baby up for adoption. I lived in hell for 20 years. If I didn't have our son, I probably would have killed myself. I thought many times about how I could reach out to you in a way that they wouldn't find out. They threatened to take Justin away from me and I would never see him or them again. They watched me like hawks. I didn't have my cell phone. I didn't have my own money. I never went out with other people unless they were with me. It was weird. They even took me to the lie detector guy periodically and asked me if I had tried to contact you. Everything changed overnight when my parents died in a car accident 6 months ago. Suddenly, I had the hope of seeing you that had been suppressed for so long. Dave, it took me the last few months to find you. I found information about you. When I found out you were married, I almost gave up. I didn't want to ruin a happy marriage. Instead, I watched you in your home to see if I could determine if you were happily married. I'm not ashamed to admit that I hoped you weren't. Then today, some young woman came up to my car and asked if I knew where David Livingston lived. I pointed to your house. She said, "Damn it, I hate serving people." She told me that your wife had filed for divorce. I took that as a sign from God. I bribed her to let me do it. I assumed that if your wife was divorcing you, I might have a chance to live again. With you. Was someone going to serve me? She held out a package to Dave. "Oh yes, David. You've been served." He took the package and started to open it. I shouted, "Please don't open it." It was an April Fool's joke. Just ignore it. He reread the document. I could see the anger building on his face. If Allison hadn't shown up, getting that divorce petition would still have broken my heart. Nancy, how could you be so angry? I guess I should thank you, though. I have absolutely no guilt for Allison and me now. He turned to Allison and took her hands in his. Please tell me you're not married. Of course not. I've never even been interested in another man. Does it upset you that I got married? Dave, you thought I was dead. You did what you had to do to survive. I can't hold it against you for that. Allison Kirk, will you marry me? I screamed. What did you just say? Oh, yes, Dave. Yes, 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 yes. They hugged. You can't marry her, damn it. You're married to me. Not for long. He took out a pen and signed the papers. Now the marriage is over. It's not going to work. I'm going to refuse to get a divorce. We're still married. Oh, that's fine. I'll just file my own papers as soon as I can. I'll be as fair as I can be. Allison has spoken. Dave, don't fight about money. I have a good job and my parents left me quite a bit of money. You could leave her all your money and we'd be fine. I was seething with anger. What about me? I'm not going to be okay. The main thing I want is him, not his money or property. Damn it, Dave, we've had 20 years of marriage and 2 kids, for God's sake. What are the girls going to think about you leaving me for an old girlfriend? Nancy, I'm holding your divorce papers in my hand. It pretty much says you don't want me as a husband anymore. You've made it clear that the new guy at work is the one for you, and you've probably been together before. I think the girls will understand when I tell them the whole story. In the long run, they'll probably love Allison and their new brother. I told you it was an April Fool's joke. I wasn't really going to divorce you. The new guy at work is a myth. I just wanted to do something stupid and pull one of my pranks. I wanted to put some spark back into our marriage. I'm afraid you've stifled that spark that was there, if that's really what it is. Allison, give me a minute to get some things together. He headed upstairs to our bedroom. So there we sat, the 2 women, his true love and his stupid wife, or ex-wife, depending on how you look at it. Allison spoke up. Mrs. Livingston, I'm sorry to break it to you like this, but David and I have something eternal between us. I really think our reunion was predestined. Just be happy for the many years you had him. I would have loved to have lived those years with him. Instead, those 20 years have been sheer agony for me. I love him more than life itself. You husband-stealing fool! I should kill you! No threats, bribes, delaying tactics, or anything else will stop us now. This is the moment I've waited too long for, and I'm not going to give it up for you or anyone else. We deserve a chance at some happiness in our lives. What about happiness in my life? What have I done to deserve it? What are you whining about? I never would have gone near him until I found out you were divorcing him. Are you deaf? It was a joke. April Fool's joke. You're pathetic. How do you torture someone you claim to love more than anyone else? You're such a cruel fool. I hope we never see your ugly face again. Don't count on it. I'll fight this divorce tooth and nail. Dave came downstairs with a couple of packed bags. He turned to me. I know this sounds sudden, but thinking about Allison was what made me look so pensive and sad at times. I thought about what I had lost when Allison and our baby died. Nancy, I really cared about you and our marriage until the last few months. Frankly, I'm not surprised you filed for divorce. It was obvious you didn't like me anymore, and you thought you had better options with the men in your office. I suspected you were cheating during the working late sessions. Like I said, I'll be fair in the divorce. I think it would be best for us to have no further contact except through our attorneys. Allison, can we go meet our son now? Of course, my love. They kissed. I couldn't remember him ever kissing me so passionately. I watched them walk to their cars. She was first, and he followed on her heels. So much for my April Fool's joke? And then it hit me. You're an idiot. That was David's April Fool's joke on me. I started laughing. That asshole got me. He got me good. I wonder where he got Allison or whatever her name is. She's actually a great actress. I expected them to come back for lunch and gloat about how they'd tricked me. But no, nor were they there in the morning. Holy crap, they're really playing this joke. It wasn't until I received his divorce papers that I finally realized it wasn't a joke. I tried to fight the divorce. But after 6 months of battling with counteroffers, it was clear that the three of them were already a new family without our divorce. I gave up, sold the house, and moved closer to the girls who, unfortunately for me, liked their new stepmother and older brother. They thought the miraculous reunion of their father, his true love, and his son was a momentous occasion. None of this, of course, made me sympathetic. Not much has changed in my life in the years since our divorce, except for the grandchildren, whom we share with all the courtesy I am capable of at family reunions. My worst time is when April 1st comes around, which reminds me of what happened. It wasn't all my fault. Who the hell reunites with their long-lost lover and son who are presumed dead? We could have ended up getting a divorce anyway, but I made it a lot easier with my shenanigans. I don't pull any more April Fool's pranks. The end.